Oh, hi. Welcome to Aquatazoo, where we like to nerd out over all things zoo and aquarium related. I'm l.semple, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about initiative. I thought I would talk about this because it's come up in social media, actually, and news that Gen Z workers are on the verge of being fired, if not fired already, for lack of initiative. And the lack of initiative issue seems to be one that is very familiar with older generations and rather unfamiliar to Gen Z, who it seems to be happening to. I just wanted to talk about it. I don't want to break things down into like generational differences because I feel like that's painting with a really broad brush, but it might be something that somebody needs to hear, honestly. I mean, to be fair, all generations have this thing where they despise the generations below them for some silly reason that they themselves also displayed in their youth. It's just a silly thing, which is why I don't want to make this about generational differences. Full disclosure, I am a millennial. I display a lot of the tendencies that are assigned to millennials, but if you need to know that, if you want to know that, there you go. But I do want to talk about this initiative thing that seems to be recurring in many different types of jobs with younger people. I don't want to say it's just a generational thing, but if you are 25 and it's displaying some of these tendencies, or if you are 55 and you're displaying some of these tendencies, this is a problem. If you have a lack of initiative, it's going to cause you trouble in the workplace. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, I guess, what the bosses of these people seem to be experiencing. And, I've been reading, I've been watching, and trying to get familiar with what's going on here. And if this helps even one person, that's great. So, what the bosses of these people are talking about is that they bring in a person to work for them, and this person asks, what should I be doing? The supervisor gives them some sort of task, and it is a multi-step task, and the new worker does not understand what they need to do to get that task done, right? That happens sometimes, even if you've been in your business for, decades. Sometimes you're going to get assigned something to do, and you're not going to know what to do or where to start. The key issue is to have the initiative to do something. Do something about that. If you don't know what to do, maybe ask about it. Maybe look it up. Maybe get some clarification, some steps, something. Do something with it. As simple and silly as this seems, it apparently is one of the problems that some of these supervisors are having with new workers, is that they assign them something that they feel like they're capable of doing given their skill set, given how they interviewed, given their history. This is a task that they should be able to handle. And now they've been assigned it, right? And for whatever reason, this new person does not feel like they know what to do, and then they freeze. They stop, they don't know what to do, so they ignore it, basically. They might not ignore it, but they don't do anything to help themselves complete the task. So they just stop, and once the supervisor is asking where's the completed product, or, where is the finish of this task that I gave you, that newer hire says, I didn't do it, I didn't know what to do. Now, as a supervisor, that would be infinitely frustrating, and I understand where the supervisor is coming from when they say they can't handle that. Because, you know, based on your interview, based on your experience and your history and how you've presented yourself as a person to be hired, we expect that you can do some bare minimum things with minimal instruction, and that you can go ahead and take care of it. And then we assign you something, and then you just stop, freeze, because you don't know how to do it. That may very well be the case, but your supervisor expects you to ask, or to find some information about how that is done, whether it's asking them directly, whether it's asking a coworker for clarification, whether it's looking up a YouTube video, you know? I don't know about you, but I've learned lots of life skills from looking up YouTube videos, especially when it comes to like Excel sheets and stuff. Like some of these programs are able to do things that are wild and crazy, but you have to know how to input the information directly, or you need to know where to look. I've learned a lot of things from watching videos about how this stuff is done. And so that's what that supervisor is looking for, some sort of initiative to get the ball rolling, to start moving in the right direction. If you have issues or questions or need clarification, yeah, then go to the supervisor and ask those things and get that clarification that you need to complete the task. That's what you've been given. So that's one issue with the lack of initiative that some of these folks are complaining about. Another one is a different sort of lack of initiative. Like they know what needs to be done. Like say I need a report given to me that maybe comes from another department or another institution maybe. And so I task someone, hey, can you please get this report? I need this information, these numbers, whatever. Then that person says, absolutely, I got it. And we're talking about like somebody who's lacking initiative here, right? And so they go and they email the one person that they know of who can get that report. And then they wait. And they don't get a response. I, as the supervisor, am like, hey, I asked you for that report. Have you gotten it yet? And they say, I emailed so-and-so about it, but I haven't had a response. Okay, well, as a supervisor, I'm probably going to ask, hey, would you mind? I need it now or in the very near future. Can you please give them a call? Which I'm a millennial. I understand that I do not want to be on the phone. I hate making phone calls. So again, that's very stereotypical of me. But, you know, a lot of people feel that way. They just don't like making phone calls. But it is part of the job. This is what we're supposed to do, right? I need to get that information that my supervisor has asked me for. I need to take it a step further. I can't wait forever to get an email response from somebody I asked a week ago for this information. Okay, so the supervisor says, hey, can you please give them a call? Okay, so that new hire or that person lacking the initiative makes that phone call because they've been asked to do so, and then they do not get the response or they do not get the information that they need. And it takes the supervisor to keep coming back and keep asking about the same task that they've asked for. And while they've asked for the report or this information from this other entity, really that's the end goal. That's the task. And the fact that they have to keep going back and asking what the status is on that and asking them to take the next step every time. The email didn't work, give them a call. The phone call didn't work, can you go over to their office? You know what I mean? So the fact that the supervisor is having to ask specifically for them to go do each step is also infinitely frustrating because, you know, that supervisor has a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on too. They're trying to do their own job. They're trying to manage other people most likely. And having to ask this person over and over again to do the next step over and over again without them actually thinking of that and going and doing the thing because the task was to get the information from the other entity, not just to make the phone call, not just to send the email, not just to go to that office. Like this was all part of the original task, which was to get the information that was needed. So that's another issue with the folks that are lacking initiative. And I'm, again, trying not to make this into a generational thing, but that is all part of what is frustrating supervisors with folks who are lacking initiative. On the other side of this, the people who are the ones who are causing the quote-unquote headache in this scenario, they are the types who will respond with something like, I don't get paid enough to do that, right? I don't get paid enough to think independently and do this extra work. They would call it extra work, right? I don't get paid to think of the next step and go do it, right? But I would disagree. Well, I would agree that none of us are getting paid enough, right? Like, life is hard. We're just trying to make it by. I think everybody who is skilled and good at their job is probably underpaid. So you got me there, right? But we also want to keep you employed, right? And so to say, you don't pay me enough to do that thing, you don't pay me enough to have initiative, is rough, right? That's why these folks are getting laid off, because they are not showing any kind of initiative. The supervisors cannot sit there and handhold these people and inform them of what the next step is all the time. Like, say, for instance, they've got like 6 to 10 of these people that they're trying to get to do some work, and no one's got initiative, and they're having to handhold all these people in the same kind of way. I would lose my mind. I'm not trying to be callous here. I understand that none of us are paid enough and that it's hard to always know what to do next. And it's hard to just be aware of what your supervisor needs, even though they didn't necessarily say it. So I get that. I totally get that. However, more than likely, if you are this person, you were hired to help out this team, to help out this institution, to help out this supervisor, to get some of this work done. And you are clearly not doing it, right? Like, the fact that you did not ask for help when you did not know the task is one thing. The fact that you cannot seem to keep the momentum going and think of the next step if the first thing you tried didn't work, what's the next option? It's not setting it aside until your boss asks you about it. Like, that's wild to me. We're not getting anything done. Now, I understand. I've been in the workforce for many years. I won't say how many, but it's been a lot of years, right? So I have already gained this kind of awareness of the right amount of initiative that I need to have. I kind of recognize when I can and can't ask questions. And that's a lot of the issue here too, right? I'm not going to put all of the blame on the person who's displaying a lack of initiative. It's kind of a subjective way to describe things anyway, right? What one person's lack of initiative is another person's, I literally paralyzed, I don't know what to do, and I don't know who to ask, right? The way you're looking at it could be different. And if another person could take initiative, and their boss might think that they are stepping on the boss's toes, right? Like, that's their part of the job. They went too far, you know? So I understand that this is kind of a nuanced topic, but if anybody out there has been struggling to find or keep a job, today's market is really, really, really tough. And so if you have a job and you're struggling and this is the issue at hand, I want you to know what's going on and why it's going to be a detriment to your continued employment, right? I don't want to see people get fired from their jobs because they were unaware that what they're doing is making their supervisor insane, right? And I've seen that happening as well. Like, they just don't know that they're supposed to take the next step or do something else. And their supervisors aren't saying it too. So this is partly on supervisors as well, depending on the situation. But here's what we need to do to address this, right? First of all, supervisors, you need to make this a safe place, a psychologically safe place where people can feel free to ask questions, to come with you with concerns, so that you're accessible. So that, when these things come up and they don't know what to do, you're available, right? And if you're not available, assign someone to be available who knows what to do. Like, pair somebody up with an experienced employee who knows what to do, knows the ropes, knows how to get things done. They can learn from each other and figure things out, right? And if you are on the employee side that is struggling with the initiative, first of all, recognize when you don't know how to do something and ask something. Do something. Literally anything. Look up a video, read an article about it. Do something, ask a coworker, ask someone. Just do something with your time. You're also, if you're going to say that you don't get paid enough to have initiative to figure things out, then you don't get paid to sit there, right? It is it is not enough to just show up at work and expect to be paid. They're actually paying you to work. Whether you know how to do it or not, you are being paid to figure it out, essentially. And so just keep that in mind. If you ever feel like, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything, you're not being paid to just sit there. And I know that the wages are low and you're struggling with that. We are all struggling with that. I understand. I'm there with you, my friend. However, I would also like to remain employed because I cannot lose my job. Otherwise, I'll be really messed up, right? It's better to just struggle through and do the work, even though I feel like I'm underpaid, rather than lose the job and then be in a worse financial situation. I assume. I can't speak for everyone, but that's what I would be thinking. I would like to remain employed. So when you have new hires, give them resources. Inform them of who they can talk to, where they can find information, how maybe you learned how to do this stuff. Even though their resume may say one thing and their interview gave you the impression of, you know, their skill level and all that, that may not be an accurate reflection of things, right? Because maybe they just don't know how to do it the way you do it. And maybe they didn't really have the confidence to do it on their own in their previous workplace, but they put it on their resume because they have technically done it, just not on their own, right? Like there's lots of different things going on with the resume and the interview process and your thoughts about where they should be in regards to their skill level and experience. Once they actually get into your employment, that may be completely different, and that's okay. Regardless, they still kind of have to learn how to do it with you and how to work at your institution, right? Things are a little bit different with every employer. So, affording them some sort of grace and time and attention, honestly, so that they can kind of figure out how you expect it to be done and how you want them to go about the process will do you better in the long run with them, right? So once they have learned how to do some of this stuff, there's not really an excuse as to why they're not doing it when they've been assigned the task. Like you've gone through it with them, or if you have paired them up with somebody who knows what to do so that they learn how we do it here, right? And then if you have issues after that, that's kind of a separate problem. It's not necessarily a lack of knowledge, lack of confidence. It's really kind of a lack of willingness to do the work that you are being paid to do. And you can handle that with HR in different ways. But first, you need to foster kind of a culture of please ask questions, please come find me, please, feel free to offer up your ideas, get and buy into what we're doing here so that you feel some ownership. You're more likely to complete the task if you feel like you're part of this process, right? That's our jobs as supervisors, is to make sure that people feel comfortable enough, confident enough, have the knowledge, have the skill, have the willingness to get this work done. I'm willing to bet that at least some of these supervisors are being a little unfair in their quick release of these people who they perceive as having no initiative. They just might not want to rock the boat or cause trouble or get in trouble for overstepping their bounds, right? They might just not be aware of where the line is and what they can and can't do, and they're waiting for somebody to tell them what they need to do next because that's safer, right? And yes, that's annoying. And we wish that everybody had the same drive that we do, right? But understand these are people that are kind of new to the workplace in general and are kind of often young adults. Typically, if we're dealing with an older adult here that's having some initiative problems, that might be a separate issue. But lack of initiative is lack of initiative, even though it's got like different nuances to it, different reasoning behind it. And so I just don't want these supervisors to write these young people off too early who are relatively young in their career or not really used to this type of workplace or something like that. That's not fair. We're comparing them to ourselves, and perhaps we started working at 15 years old or younger. I started working very young. And so my experience working different jobs was more advanced, I guess, than a lot of people of my same age, right? Like I was a manager at 19. And so the people who have been working for longer have a little bit more professional awareness, I would say. And so it's a little unfair. If I compare some of these young people who are entering the workforce to me at that age, that's not fair. The world was different. The experience was different. My experience was very different than theirs. It's just not a fair comparison, really. And so rather than spending my time and energy as a supervisor getting mad and trying to like walk them through the process by just telling them the next step and not working through everything with them and talking to them about it, that's my bad, right? As the supervisor, I just don't want any of these supervisors to jump to conclusions about what's happening and then make some drastic decision, which is probably letting these people go. It's not doing them any services either because they're still not learning what to do. They're not developing that professional acumen, right? Because they're just getting let go from the jobs and not really understanding what's the problem here. Which is why I'm making this episode. Because if you fall into this category and you don't know why you keep getting let go from jobs, and you realize now maybe that it's because your supervisors are perceiving a lack of initiative, that's something that you can work on. If you are the worker in this situation and you're not sure what to do and you feel like you're not being paid enough to think about that, reevaluate. If you want to remain employed and develop some skills that will benefit your future in the workplace, you're going to have to work with people of all different types and ages and positions in life, I guess. And some of them are going to have more experience than you. Some of them are going to have less experience than you. And so being able to function in a group with all of these other types of people is going to be necessary if you intend to remain employed. So developing these skills, whether you feel like you're being paid enough to develop them or not, will benefit you in the long run. Like, think about your future, think about your current financial status, I would say, but just think about how you can still benefit even beyond just the paycheck, every 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah, we're getting paid less than we probably should, but that doesn't mean you completely check out, right? It doesn't mean you just sit there and stare at your phone while you're waiting for somebody to tell you what to do next. Look around you. You can pick up some good skills. What are your coworkers doing? What is your boss doing? Is there something that you could help them with or a skill that you could develop that interests you, right? Think about it even for your benefit, how you could develop some skills and education and experience right where you are that, no, they don't necessarily pay you for, but they will benefit you nonetheless. Because again, no employer is paying you to sit there and look at your phone or sit there and do nothing while work is being done around you and your supervisor's waiting for things and nothing's getting done. You are not being paid for that. You do not get paid for simply showing up to work. You have to actually work. That's what the point is. That's why they're paying you. They want you to do work. They want you to produce things. They want you to accomplish tasks. That's what you're being paid for. Is it enough? Probably not. But make the best of it. We all have to do it. We're all trying to do our best out here. And if you're going to do nothing but cause someone else a headache, there's no reason for you to be there. So that's why I wanted to talk about this a little bit today, because some folks have a little bit skewed vision of this on both sides. I will say the people who are seemingly lacking the initiative as well as the supervisors, there's issues on both sides. But I wanted to discuss it because I thought it was important just in case anyone falls into either of these categories to just give them something else to think about, right? Whether you are the person who's a relatively new hire who doesn't know what to do and you're paralyzed because it doesn't make sense what the next step is, try something. Do something. And you can talk to your boss about it as well and say, I'm going to try a few things. I'm not sure exactly how to do this. So they might tell you what they want you to do and might help you through that. Or they might be like, sure, go try some stuff. Let's see what you come up with, right? And then on the supervisor side, don't write these people off so easily. It's very possible that when you've got somebody who quote unquote lacks initiative, that they are fearful for what might happen if they do something wrong. And that is a cause of concern because that means that you possibly have a hostile slash toxic work environment that needs to be addressed, right? There's bigger problems here. If they are truly scared or concerned about what will happen if they mess up, that means that this culture that we've created here is one where it's not safe, it's not psychologically safe, people are not admitting mistakes, and they're not willing to talk to each other about how to get to the best outcome for everyone, right? And that's the kind of culture that you would want, right? Like you want to be able to talk to somebody when you make mistakes. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. It's okay. As long as like nothing dies or explodes or something, it's not that big of a deal, right? Everybody makes mistakes. We are naturally going to do that. So being able to talk it out and learn from them is the point. And so if somebody doesn't feel secure enough in that work environment to step forward and say, I need help, or step forward and say, I made a mistake, I don't know what to do, and things like that, then that is a bigger problem that this person just happens to be signaling to you, right? They don't know what to do, but they also are afraid of the repercussions if they say anything about not knowing what to do. All of these are really difficult discussions too, right? Like it's hard to say, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do, especially when you're newer. It's hard to admit that you don't understand how your supervisor wants this thing done. What is the next step? What are you expecting? And really, this is about communication, right? It's about talking these things through and the supervisor being willing to share what they're looking for and what they're not looking for, and for that person who is being tasked with things to explain what they do and don't know how to do and what they are willing and not willing to do, right? These are important discussions that need to happen so that everybody's on the same page and they know what to expect. I understand that there's frustration on both sides. One side's not getting paid enough to do whatever it is that they're supposed to do. Maybe they don't have the knowledge and experience and confidence to do it. And on the other side, we don't want to hold people's hands. I'm too old for this. Like I've been working for too long to be telling people exactly how to ask someone else for information. Email them, call them, go to their office. Yeah, like all the steps that you need to take that are, gradually ramping up until you get the thing that you need to get. Like that is intuitive to me, but I've been working for decades. So I think there's just a massive misunderstanding here. And I know that this happens between like all of the generations, right? I'm a millennial, a lot of millennials poop on, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. A lot of Gen Xers poop on millennials. Like it constantly is going like that. And so I don't want to bring it down to generational issues because I feel like it's more than that. And it's just a difference between the experience in life right now versus the experience of life 20 years ago is 100% different. I think everybody can agree that things are very, very, very different now than they were a couple decades ago. And so when I was entering the workforce, things were very different than entering the workforce now. And some traumatic events have happened, right? So let's all just approach this with some grace and think about what we really want to get out of this relationship between, our employer and the people that are coming into the workforce, right? Let's all give each other some grace and try to have these conversations about what's expected versus what we can confidently produce, right? It's not just lack of initiative. It is more than that, I think. And of course, this is, again, painting with a broad brush, but I have faith that people can work together and despite their differences, but that we just need to come to understanding about what we're expecting and what can get done. Okay. If you have any questions about that or any other leadership and management stuff or zoo and aquarium things, let me know. You can write it up in an email and send it to me at aquatazoo@gmail.com. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you do, don't forget you can follow or subscribe on your podcast player of choice. That way you'll get all of that sweet, sweet content as soon as it releases. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can find me at patreon.com/aquatazoo. And if you're looking to take a vacation and you don't know where to start, I happen to be a personal vacation advisor with Magical Vacation Planner, and I would love to help you out. It does not cost you anything extra. The links are in the show notes. Okay. Thanks for listening. I heart your faces. Okay, bye.